welcome everyone. We are speaking this evening with Daniel Marschner from Loyola Marymount University and Pradhan from University of San Francisco. And they're both going to talk to us about their programs, and we're going to learn about, sort of their, unique programs that they offer, application processes, maybe a little bit about financial aid, and then we'll ask this usual questions that we do on our webinars. Just to let everyone know how this is going to work, the audience members should all have a Q&A box in your Zoom window, and you can post any questions that you have in that window. And those questions, Namita and I will, at the end of the session, kind of coordinate and ask the questions at the same time, so that we're not going to open up mics and have people repeat questions. So we will moderate the questions for you. That's the word I'm looking for, moderate. So but do put your questions in the question box whenever you have the question, and we will get to it at the end. So the goal here is to answer everybody's question. So let me introduce myself. My name is Kim Dixit. I'm the co-founder and CEO of the Red Pen, and we are an education consulting company that has been operating out of Mumbai, India for the last 9 years. We assist families and students making decisions about, of course, the undergraduate application process, which is what we're talking about today, but also boarding schools and postgraduate, MBA, and other sort of levels of education. So that's us, and my partner Namita Mehta, the president, is here. She's supporting me in the back end to get these questions answered. So we will, I think with that, just go ahead and get started. I want to just keep this slide up here for a second and let everybody know that these are the email addresses where you can reach both of our presenters this evening in case you feel that you have more questions that you didn't ask, or your question wasn't answered as thoroughly as you had hoped. You can write to them and they will respond to your questions one-on-one. So with that, I'm going to let you take it over, Daniel.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here today. Hopefully you can see my screen okay. Again, my name is Dan Marschner. I'm a director of international admissions at Loyola Marymount University. So we're in Los Angeles, California. And first, I just want to take a moment and say, we're thinking of all of you all throughout the world who we're all kind of going through this really unprecedented time together. And so we're hoping that you are staying safe and healthy, and we're certainly looking forward to a time when the pandemic is behind us. But again, I think it's a very, very fascinating time to be working in college admissions for sure. So a little bit about LMU. Again, we are in Los Angeles, and as you can see here, this is our campus, which is considered one of the most beautiful in the U.S. We are really lucky to have a phenomenal location in Los Angeles, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But you can see here, we actually have kind of like the Hollywood sign. We have our names on our name on a bluff, which overlooks the city of Los Angeles. You can see in the background here. We're about 10 minutes away from the international airport, so it's incredibly convenient. And I'll show you a little more specifics about the location here as well. So to be clear, this is not the scale. This makes LMU look enormous. It is not enormous as compared to the rest of Los Angeles, but again, it gives you a sense of where we are in the city. If you're not familiar with Los Angeles, it is the second largest city in the United States. Metro area is about 20 million people. And it's certainly a hub of culture, of entertainment, of industry. There's a lot of really exciting things that happen in Los Angeles, and we really want our students to consider the city to be an extension of the campus and to demonstrate everything that the city has to offer. As you can see here, we're about 1 kilometer from the Pacific Ocean, and so that is a really big draw for our students for things like surfing and water, taking advantage of everything the beach has to offer, for example. But also we're close to a lot of really famous places you may be familiar with, including Santa Monica, for example, Venice Beach. You can see the Hollywood sign from our campus. Again, it's Los Angeles, as our president notes, is really a center for creativity. And so there's an incredible amount of entertainment opportunities, and anything from the film industry to the music industry to lots of opportunities for performing arts. So that's certainly something that's a really big consideration as well. And also, one of the things that's been more recent development that's very exciting for LMU is that we're located really close to what's called Silicon Beach, which is the tech sector in Los Angeles. And so we have neighbors like Google, Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat that are located right on our doorstep. And so we actually have a campus that's located in the same physical structure as Facebook, which is down the street from Google, YouTube, IMAX, and there are 500 different startups within about a 5-kilometer radius of the campus. And so again, there's a really strong connection with the innovative companies that are located on our doorstep and with the industry in Los Angeles in general. And I'll talk a little bit later about how important our offices of career and professional development are and the opportunities there to make sure that students have the opportunity to consider internship opportunities and really connect with these incredible companies that are located right next to us. Both Pranav and I actually work for Jesuit institutions, and so I just want to take a minute and explain what that means. So we are part of a network of 27 universities in the United States. We're both represented on the located on the western part of the United States, but you can find Jesuit schools all throughout the world as well. So very prominently throughout India, for example. And so these are all institutions that have 3 core components. The first is a very strong commitment to individual attention. So the classes are kept smaller. You really get a chance to get to know your professors. Certainly in the pandemic, that's been a really strong focus of ours to ensure that all of our students are doing well. And so again, the professors, the students, the faculty, the staff all have a really strong connections and they really develop a very strong community on our campus. The second is a global perspective. And so we have students at LMU that come from 90 different countries. And so international connections, because of that global network, are very important to us. But also it means that students take classes in very interdisciplinary focused areas in a lot of different subjects. And so the idea being that you really have a strong connection and a strong possibilities of considering subjects or challenges from a lot of different perspectives. So again, that focus on global perspective is very important as well. The third is really strong commitment to community service and community engagement. So we don't require students to do community service to graduate by any means, but it's certainly something that's a big part of the experience of any Jesuit institution. And so students are involved at LMU in projects in Los Angeles and all around the world, really making a positive contribution to the world that they want to live in. So this is an example. This is a picture here of our chapel, which is a beautiful part of the campus. It is important to note that we are a Christian Catholic institution, but we do not expect students to attend any kind of religious services or be Christian or Catholic by any means. And so we do have many students who come from India, from the Middle East, really from all around the world, who are very excited about a place that really values faith and provides them with an opportunity to express their faith if they'd like to. But again, it doesn't expect them to be involved in any kind of religious services. We also, as I mentioned before, have a very beautiful campus. This is the heart of our campus here called the Palm Walk. And you can see the library here in the background. We're known for a lot of really great things. So specifically, we are ranked number 64 in the US, which has really been an exciting change for us because previously we've been ranked in the regional college and universities in the United States. We just joined the national rankings in September. But we're also known for a lot of different things as well. So quality of life amongst our students, how engaged they are in community service, for the campus itself, and the ability to be able to really explore the natural environment around the campus. I should have mentioned as well that Los Angeles is a place that has a really wonderful climate year-round, and is also really close to a lot of really great places to explore. So certainly students do take advantage of that. We're also known for a phenomenal film school, which makes sense being in a place with Hollywood nearby. But also really strong connections to our business school as well, which again, there are a lot of really strong companies that are located in the area, whether it be the Silicon Beach area or the aerospace industry, which isn't too far from us, which is headquartered in the international airport, to the transportation and shipping industries that are located in LA Harbor. So again, there's a lot of really strong opportunities for students to consider. And so a ton of job and internship opportunities for our students to explore. And also we're lucky to have some phenomenal science courses as well. So we offer civil, mechanical, electrical engineering, computer science, a lot of really great hands-on learning experiences for our students to really focus on their ability to connect with their professors and do some really groundbreaking, innovative research. This is the whole list of everything we have to offer here. Again, I think it just gives you a sense of how important it is for us to really connect with various disciplines and ideas, and really to ensure that students have the ability to make connections between various ideas. So again, this is an exhaustive list of everything that we offer, but it's important to note that we offer, we have international students who are studying subject areas in all of these different colleges. We also have students who take majors in different colleges or majors and minors. And so there's a lot of opportunities there to consider. But again, it just gives you a sense of the really broad basis that you have to consider. You do apply directly to one of these majors when you apply to LMU. And also just keep in mind that the students do have a lot of flexibility to change their mind if need be. and again, really connecting with the professors to see what will make the most sense for them. So I'll just wrap up with talking briefly about the application process. We want to make sure we leave a lot of time for questions. First of all, LMU does take the common application, as you can see here. We also have the coalition application as well as our own online application. Depending on where a student's coming from, we may require English proficiency. So depending upon the curriculum they're studying in and things like that. But you can see the scores that we accept here. We do accept the Duolingo English test specifically, if you're familiar with that one. I know a lot of these tests have actually moved to online versions of them due to the pandemic, and so we are accepting those. We do want to recognize that we are not requiring any student to submit the SAT or the ACT at any point. So if students feel that the SAT or the ACT is either not a realistic option for them, or they feel like it's not a good indication of their academic abilities, they're not asked to submit that test. And so we do consider students automatically when they apply for scholarship consideration as well. So students do not have to do any additional application process for that. And those scholarships can range from $2,000 all the way through full scholarships. So for example, we have 3 international students who will be entering this fall with a full scholarship. As you can see the deadlines here, we do offer early decision and early action, which hopefully you're familiar with those. I won't deliberate too much on those. As well as a regular decision deadline of January 15th. And so we have a very exciting group of students who are hoping to come to campus in August. And again, international students are always a big part of that group. And so we feel that the diversity on campus, whether it be various nations or states that are represented, there's a really important part of the community, the student body on our campus. So again, I know we have a lot more time to ask questions. I just want to reinforce that I'm more than happy to talk to you directly at this email address here. But also our website has got a lot of really great resources for international students, which is just here at the bottom, international.lmu.edu. So again, thank you so much for being here. I'll go ahead and stop my screen share. So Pranav, you can go ahead, and I look forward to answering your questions as well.
Thank you so much, Dan. That was really helpful. And I think it's, sort of gives a great overview of Loyola Marymount, which is very popular among our students. So we'll let Pranav go ahead now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you so much for introducing Jesuit. So I'm not going to have to, talk about. So we are both of us. We are from a Jesuit school. So that was a fantastic introduction for Jesuit education. So hello everyone. My name is Pranav Pradhan. I'm the Director of International Admissions at the University of San Francisco. I'm based in Mumbai. I primarily read and review applications that come from South Asia, Central Asia, Middle East, and the oceanic countries. So today, let's just go a little bit about what we have to offer. So University of San Francisco, we are located in the city of San Francisco, about 7,000 undergraduate students. We have a class size of about 20 students, 22 students in one class, 13:1 is the student faculty ratio. We're very proud to be ethnically diverse. We are third most ethnically diverse, and it's a very good reflection of what the city of San Francisco is. We have beautiful 55-acre campus, and when we say heart of the city, we are actually the geographic center of the city of San Francisco. So the city of San Francisco is more like a 7 mile by 7 miles square, and we are located right here at 3.5. If you see where our mascot Dan Francisco, who's standing right there, that's where exactly we are located. It's a beautiful city. You have a great mix of 36 different neighborhoods. You have 3 Chinatowns, you have the Japantown, you have the Mission District that has all these amazing places to eat tacos. So there's a lot to explore. So I'm not gonna dwell deep into the Jesuit mission. As I said, Daniel really did a fantastic job talking about it. So we are a Jesuit school. This right here in front of you is our St. Ignatius Chapel, which is right on campus. This is where our orientation happened. This is where students graduate. So it's a beautiful place on campus as well. Talking about academics a little bit, we have 3 colleges at the undergraduate level. We have the College of Arts and Sciences, we have the School of Management, and we have the School of Nursing. College of Arts and Sciences primarily is our biggest college, which has the maximum number of students, where you will do all different majors, which are computer science, data science. You have economics, engineering is a new major at the College of Arts and Sciences as well. So these are some of the popular majors. Engineering we take about 30 students every year with 3 different streams, which is electrical and computer, We have sustainability built engineering, and we have the environmental engineering. Talking about engineering a little bit and talking about our College of Arts and Sciences, as we talk about the Jesuit tradition, we have a very strong focus on social justice. And even if you are a student who is studying engineering, you will still have a certain level of social justice angle into your program. Just to give you an example, so for example, let's say you are a student who's studying electrical engineering, and let's say at a very initial stages you are doing a project of studying how does a telescope work. So you will definitely study about the science about it, how the lenses work, what Galileo did, and how did you put it together. But as a social justice angle to it, you will also be writing a paper about what kind of impact your actions have on the society. So it makes a student a lot more thoughtful about whether they are having a positive impact on the society. Whether you are a programmer who is developing an app, whether you're an economist who is working on a pricing algorithm, you're always having that thought in your mind that how does my actions really are taken in the society. So I think that's one important angle. Talking about School of Management, we have some traditional programs like accounting, finance, hospitality, marketing. Entrepreneurship and innovation is one of our popular majors. We are ranked in top 20 for this particular program. And when I say entrepreneurship and innovation, due to the San Francisco Bay Area, the innovation aspect really brings in the technology. So whether you are somebody who's thinking about starting a new company, or you're thinking about growing your current family business, entrepreneurship and innovation program will let you take these different and diverse tracks. School of Nursing and Health Professions. School of Nursing, the nursing program on our campus is probably the most selective program that we have. And we offer 30 seats every year as well. And it's a pretty challenging program. So there are two majors on our campus that you cannot switch into. So for example, if you are interested in engineering, you should apply as an engineering major. You're allowed to switch out of engineering. You can change your major from engineering to anything else, but you will not be allowed to change into engineering or into nursing at a later stage. Other than our School of Nursing and the other two, we have the School of Law and the School of Education, but both of them only offer graduate programs. We also offer some joint degree programs, applied economics, which is a STEM major. We have biotechnology, which is a PSM. Financial analysis, due to the current boom in financial technology sector, it's a very popular program as well. And students who are thinking about law, we offer the 3+3 law program as well. This is again the beautiful picture. I've just added a lot of pictures. We have about 90 different nationalities represented on campus. And we have students from all the 50 different states in the US. Talking about the Bay Area, we are located in the city of San Francisco in a pretty residential neighborhood. So the location is pretty good. Majority, I would say at the freshman level, about 80 to 85% of students stay on campus. But it's not mandatory to stay on campus even in the freshman year. But students tend to stay around the campus pretty easily. The commute is pretty good. Weather is beautiful. My favorite part is definitely this right in the center. We call it the Lone Mountain. And you have a fantastic view of the Golden Gate at the back. And on the right hand side, if you see, you'll see the Salesforce Tower and the skyline. It's a beautiful view from the main campus. We have housing available for all 4 years. Talking about career zone connection, location is something that definitely stands out. Okay. Majority of our students, they will do 3 internships in the period of 4 years. Right? We are ranked in top 3% for salaries of graduation. Majority of the students, they will work with companies like Google. They have students working with Apple, Tesla. We have students who work with, for example, if you're a student who is interested in art and design, you have SF MoMA. You have somebody who, we have a fantastic sports management program at the master's level, and students work with the Golden State Warriors over there. So there are plenty of internship opportunities, whether you're an international student or a domestic student as well. These are some of the companies where majority of our students have interned and were employed last year. So it's a pretty good list out there. Talking about the application process, pretty similar. We are on the Common App. Our November 1 is the deadline for early action and early decision, and regular decision deadline will be 15th of January. We look at high school transcripts. We require test scores. So this is the very first year University of San Francisco has gone test optional. Now when I say test optional, it's slightly different than test not required. So for example, if you decide to submit your test score, we will take that into consideration while making an admission decision and making a scholarship decision. However, you have an option of saying that please do not consider my score, right? So test optional or test flexible is a different concept that sometimes students do get confused with test not required. So English language proficiency, we primarily look at TOEFL or the IELTS. We have a common application essay and a supplemental essay. Our supplemental essay is focused a little bit on social justice. We require a letter of recommendation. We require financial documents during the application process. We are a need-aware institution, and admission interview is an optional. We sometimes add it. It definitely helps. This admission interview is conducted by somebody from the admissions team, and it's definitely a helpful one. So that's a little bit about the application process. This is my contact details. I think that's about it.
Great. Thank you so much, both of you, for sort of giving us the crash course in admissions at both of your institutions. I think it's given everybody a great sort of overview. So I'm going to go into ask some more questions now about the specifics. 1 second here. I'm just going to share my screen. Yeah. Okay, great. So basically, whoops, that's not, yeah. So you both spoke a little bit about the admissions process, and we spoke a little bit earlier about, you know, the sort of situation that we're in. So I wanted to know if we could sort of put the two together and talk about, you know, how are you guys planning to look at applications this year differently, if at all? And do you think that certain things that in the past, you know, you might have considered less important, you're going to be looking at more, like say demonstrated interest or recommendation letters or something like interviews would sort of play a bigger role this year in the evaluation process? So Pranav, I'll let you answer that, and then I'll get Daniel's.
So, you know, talking about the application review process, you know, before I go into what we will do slightly differently, you know, let me point out that, you know, we are looking at grades from 9, 10th, 11th, and 12th, right? So we are looking at all your high school, and the academic effect that we might see due to the current situation might be a lot more towards your grade 11th if you're a rising senior. And, you know, there will definitely be ways for us to look beyond that. We completely understand that students were not able to maybe perform in their, or, you know, they were pass or fail grades. There were students who might have got a specific grade. So we do take that into consideration. And lots of times, you know, when we have a question, we sometimes reach out to the counselors, we reach out to the student. But as I said, you know, the US application process and the US education system is pretty flexible. And I think this is the time when it's really going to be tested.
Okay, great. And what about you, Daniel? Do you think you'll be doing anything differently this year as you're looking at applications?
You know, so I would just answer that first by saying that we have a holistic process, and so we've always considered the application itself entirely. And I know that's a little bit hard to understand, so I just want to take a little bit of time to explain exactly what that means. So, you know, we are not just looking at your test scores, for example, if you submit them, or not just looking at the grades. And again, similarly, we are looking at we are looking at each student in context. And so, for example, we know that the results from year 10 are much more important in India than any other year, that kind of thing. So we keep that in mind as we're considering students for their application process. We typically do not take into consideration things like demonstrated interest in terms of the admissions process is concerned, especially in a time when we know that it's very challenging for students to be able to visit a campus. We're actually closed to visitors right now. So we do offer a lot of different ways for students to engage with us virtually. But as a general rule, I think we do take all those different aspects of the application process into consideration. So again, we are interested in hearing from someone who knows you well as a student. So that we do take those recommendation letters seriously. We do take a look at the essays that students write as well. And so similar to Pranav and USF, I think we definitely have we have an additional application essay, and the goal is for the student to really think about why LMU as opposed to anywhere else. And so again, I won't say we're anticipating that the process to review applications will be any different for the upcoming year. I would say with the understanding that it's such a different year for all of us. And so I think we're anticipating seeing a lot more pass-fail grades and things like that from various students. But overall, I think we're always thinking along the lines of trying to support students as best we can, recognizing that we're not going to hold students to standards for things that are beyond their control. Mm-hmm. And so we're trying to be as accommodating and understanding as possible when we consider applications for next year.
That's great. Thank you. I was just smiling and laughing and kind of thinking, I remember last year at this time, the biggest question students had was, should I take AA or AI math? Yeah, IB. And that question is now like gone.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
It's so, I mean,
Yeah, it's amazing how the pandemic has really changed everyone's perspective, I would say.
yeah, and I think it just struck me as you were saying, you know, how flexible and how context driven, you know, your application process is and how holistic and it's just like, yeah, I mean, that was probably the case last year, but we had to answer these very specific questions. So it's kind of interesting how the perspective has changed. Okay, I'm going to go on to talk about, you know, you both spoke a lot about this, so I won't, you know, I think that, you know, we got a very good sense that a student who would thrive at both of your universities, as well as any Jesuit university, is somebody who is, you know, sort of has a, maybe not even totally a focus, but definitely an awareness about, you know, the greater good and things like that. So is there anything else you'd like to add about what kind of students, and particularly what kind of international students, thrive at your campus? So Daniel, I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I mean, so for example, I think when we have students who apply from the International Baccalaureate system, we feel like that's a really good, smooth transition to LMU, and that the rigor of the classes is really strong, but also that aspect of CAS, of being involved in the community, is something that's important to students. So I think that aspect is important to keep in mind. In general, I would say the U.S. education system is going to be different than what you might find in the U.K., and that it is more of a broad-based education. And so if you're a student who's really focused narrowly on one thing, you're probably not going to be someone who is going to enjoy the experience at a place like LMU than you might somewhere else. Simply because we are asking students to stretch themselves in lots of different ways. I would say the other thing to really keep in mind too about the U.S. Experience, higher education experience, is that there's a lot of learning that takes place outside of the classroom as well. So if you're someone who, you know, is looking to be involved in activities and organizations and being involved in a community of students, that's certainly something that you're going to find at both of our campuses, and that's an important part of the experience. So that residential experience of living with your friends, having activities that go all into the evenings and the weekends, really being involved in a broader sense of community is really important, and what is different than what you might find other places that are more focused almost exclusively on the academics.
That's great. I think, Pranav, I'll let you answer, but I just wanted to sort of remark that it's interesting you both have that kind of, you know, that kind of small college and focus on, you know, sort of the community that's built within your university, but you're both in the middle of big cities, which is like quite an accomplishment. So Pranav, would you like to say more about USF?
Yeah, so, you know, that's the big part, you know, San Francisco, I mean, you get to be in the a heart of big city, but at the same time, you have this well-knit community, which is more like a subset of San Francisco. And I think, you know, it's students who, I mean, you can have a life on campus. At the same time, you might also have a life outside campus where you're involved in the city, you're doing activities out there, but also have that college experience of living on campus, being involved. So I think it's a fantastic mix.
Great. That's great. Thank you. Okay, so I want to just talk for a minute about campus safety. And I think at all times, parents and mostly parents, students not as much, are very concerned about campus safety and about sending their children so far away. I think, again, because you're both in sort of two big cities in the US, a lot of times families have, you know, other family members there or things, so they feel a little more comfortable. But in general, parents are very uncomfortable sending the kids so far, and they're worried about safety. So can you speak a little bit about campus safety, as well as this specific COVID situation, and what measures the institution took to sort of smoothly, you know, transition students off campus and get them online? So Pranav, go ahead.
So first, I'll talk a little bit about the campus safety. So we are located in a pretty nice residential neighborhood in the city. I mean, we're in this big city, but, you know, you have this completely, we in fact have one residential block that goes right between our campus. So it's a very, you know, usually when I'm talking to students, let's say from Bombay, I kind of remind them that, you know, this is what I mean, being in Breach Candy area, or being in the South Bombay area, where it's not really very far from the city, but it's a more comforting kind of a. So the location is pretty good. You'll not see the kind of experiences that somebody might have had in downtown, like a Union Square or Financial District, but but at the same time, when you talk about safety measures, we have like a lot of safety measures in place, starting from the kind of access that students have to their class, to their dorm room. So, for example, everyone will have 3 different layers of security in terms of only the person who, I mean, you cannot enter into somebody even else's room without that particular access. So safety measures are in place. We have campus safety available. I mean, it's not a big, large campus, but if somebody wants to walk from the library to the dorm rooms, you have public safety officers available even at night. They're all so campus safety is taken very seriously, but at the same time, it never comes across as something that stands out or something that students have shared concerns about. I think that just kind of the atmosphere gives it that way. Talking about COVID situation, I would say, yes, California, acted. I think we should really give that California acted very well. Started soon. Things have been much better. In fact, majority of our students were on spring break when the lockdowns were starting, the shelter in place was starting. So a lot of students, they were, we had our student services office making sure everyone was getting home safely. At the same time, if there was any international student who was not able to travel home, we made sure that we made some dorm rooms available for them. So I think we still have about 100 students on campus, and we are making sure we follow the CDC guidelines of, taking consider like social distance into consideration.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Daniel, would you like to say something about LMU campus safety and the COVID situation?
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, similarly to USF, I think so. LMU is in a residential part of Los Angeles, and so that makes it really, really nice. We are an enclosed campus as well, so we control access in and out of the campus. It's a really comfortable space to walk around. Students tell me that, for example, that they, I've never felt uncomfortable walking on campus, just because it's definitely a place that feels very safe, and our public safety are certainly available for students if they have any concerns. Again, about 94% of our first-year students do live on campus, and so for students who do live on campus, they feel more secure that way as well. Although it's not an expectation, students are required to live on campus by any means. And so I think in general, it's just a place that feels comfortable, and I think that's what students often say, is that they feel like they feel secure, they feel comfortable on the campus. We do have lots of different ways, for example, an app called Guardian that helps helps students to connect with their friends if they may feel insecure at any point or things like that. And we really try to make sure that we are very, very clear with our communication when there are any kind of concerns as well. As far as COVID goes, I think just like anywhere else, I think everywhere else in the US, I think we acted as quickly and as responsibly as we could. And so similarly, it was right around our spring break when we first heard about the need for students to return home if they were not on campus. And so that did help a little bit in terms of helping smooth things for students. We have encouraged students to go home. We do have about 100 students who are still living in the residence halls as well. But in general, I think we've been as much as possible trying to connect with our students and recognize that their concerns will be very individualized as well. Mm-hmm. And so, again, I think we're really focused on ensuring that the safety and security of our students is our top priority. And so, for example, our student life staff actually took the time to connect with all of our students and make sure they were doing okay, and ask how they were adjusting to online learning and things like that. So in the midst of a very chaotic time, I think that LMU really ensured that again, our focus is always on our students' well-being first and foremost.
Great, thank you. I think that's really helpful. So you both have talked a little bit. You mentioned this about you have some virtual tours and online kind of information sessions and things like that. But besides that, for students, I think especially with small colleges like both of yours, students are really trying to make sure it's the right fit. And so the fit question is something that, we always keep talking about, but they're like, well, what do you mean? I read the website and I liked it, but is it the right fit? So my question is, what do you advise students in terms of what resources can they use to find out more, to understand if this is the right place for them? And I'm talking about things like, social media, interviews, whatever. So can you talk about that a little bit, Daniel?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so first I just want to mention, that the reason why I'm here today, the reason why Pranav is here today is this is our role specifically to work with students. And so when we mentioned that we are accessible via email, and so for example, I have a lot of connections with students via WhatsApp, we are very much interested in connecting with students. And we understand that these are unprecedented times. My experience has been that when students have a chance to actually walk on LMU's campus, they get it almost immediately. They understand what the university, what's important to us, and the way that the students interact with each other. And so we know it's a very powerful experience for students to have. And so it's definitely challenging when the students can't physically be on our campus and really see our students in person and in action. With that being said, I think we have a lot of really strong means for students to get a sense of what the experience is like via social media, via connections with current students. We have some really phenomenal student ambassadors who have done a good job in really explaining what their experience has been like to prospective students in the last few weeks. So I anticipate that when the fall comes around, we'll continue to be doing those virtual visits. I know that can be a frustrating experience to try to get a sense of really what a place is like without having to be able to be there physically. We feel that frustration as well because we would love to welcome you to campus, but obviously we want to make sure we can do that in a safe and healthy manner. And so I think the most important thing is just to reinforce that we are ensuring that students have the resources to understand what the experience is like before they come to campus, but the best place to start if you have any questions is just to contact us directly.
That's great. Thank you. Pranav, anything different you'd like to say about USF or?
So, I'll just quickly add, we are available. As I said, admissions office is always available, but I'll just, share a very specific instance. This was about a student from Delhi, and he talked about social media, right? So he said that, hey, I follow this video blogger who was on your campus. So I have no clue who this person was, but I feel that students using social media and even going beyond our handles, I found out that, again, I'm not a very big social media person, but I found out that you can actually follow a hashtag. So somebody was following a hashtag USFCA, and they were able to see some posts which were by students, which were by current students, which were by people who are maybe on campus or something like that. And I think that was a fantastic way to find out beyond what the admissions office is saying, beyond what what's there on the website, but what students are saying. And this is like a free information available. There was some students who were putting YouTube videos about dorm rooms and what things are. So I think those resources are amazing, and I think students have a lot of options available on Instagram and YouTube.
So maybe if they find out something you didn't even know, that's a really good point. Right. Perfect. Okay. So can you both speak a little bit more about financial aid? I know you both mentioned it in your presentations, but if you could say more about whether you think there will be an impact this year on the financial aid you can offer to international students, and then also just mention whether your admissions process is need aware, need blind, and whether you offer need-based aid to international students. So Pranav, I'll let you go ahead.
So our admissions process is need aware. We offer merit-based scholarships to international students. We do not do any financial aid for international students. We give up to 50% in scholarship, and that's primarily merit-based. And when I say merit-based, it purely depends on GPA and on the test scores if they decide to. At the moment, it doesn't look like, I don't think so there's going to be any change in our policies. We'll probably have the exact same policies for scholarships. I'll add a little bit that, this year we were a little more sensitive about the fact that there might have been instances where students have faced or families have faced losses. We tried to be as flexible with it as possible, but usually the way it is that, once we kind of make a scholarship offer, we do not change it. So that kind of makes it a little more difficult in a situation like this. But again, we offer up to $25,000 per year in scholarship.
Okay, great. Daniel, anything you'd like to add?
So similarly, we offer merit-based scholarship consideration, but not need-based financial aid at LMU. And again, I don't necessarily anticipate any kind of changes to what's available for students this upcoming year either. I think that we've been excited to see really strong interest from international students so they can compete even for our full scholarships. We do have international students every year who are winning those full scholarships. That's very exciting. And that actually involves an additional process where students are invited in February If they can come to campus, they're more than welcome. We have had a few international students who interviewed with us directly on campus. And if not, we do have students who connect via Skype and Zoom and things like that. But again, I think the main idea is that we are certainly well aware that this is a different world in a lot of ways, and we are very much cognizant of the fact that students are concerned about the devaluation of the rupee and things like that, for example. But we do take those kind of things in consideration when we're considering students. We don't offer need-based financial aid. Our application process is need blind, and so we do as much as possible try to find students who would be a good fit for the institution, and then try to help as many students as possible realize their dreams to attend LMU, find the right financial resources.
Great. So while we're on the topic of financial aid, I'm getting some questions about athletic recruitment in sports. So so firstly, can you just speak a little bit? Okay, the person is very, knowledgeable and has said it's so exciting that both schools have been undefeated in American football for decades. I didn't know that.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Can you speak about the athletic program at each university?
Sure, I'm happy to start. Yeah, so we are LMU is a Division I school, so we offer 18 Division I sports, including things like basketball, football, soccer, not American football, which is why we've been defeated since I believe the 70s. So we haven't actually played since the 70s, so we haven't lost. We also have great things like water polo, swimming, baseball, cross country, things like that. So pretty wide range. It is important to know that for the most part, as an admissions office, we're not really involved in athletic recruitment. And so really the way to start with that is to contact coaches directly. And just to be aware that if you are coming from abroad and trying to get from outside the United States and trying to get an athletic scholarship, basically you're competing with athletes from around the world. And just to recognize that, for example, I've worked for a long time with students from Brazil who would often say, well, I'm Brazilian, so therefore I should get a soccer scholarship, clearly, because I'm Brazilian. And that's not how this works, obviously. There's a really strong competition from around the world. Typically, coaches are aware of really strong prospects around the world as well, but really, I would encourage you to contact the coaches directly and see what the possibilities might be if you are interested in playing Division I sports in the United States. And again, also to recognize that the coaches themselves determine how much scholarship funding is available, who they're going to offer a spot to, things like that. So typically that's not a process that we in the admissions office are really heavily involved in. Students are expected to apply, and certainly a student has to be admitted to be able to be a Division I athlete. But again, we're not necessarily looking for those prospects on behalf of the coaches.
Okay, and which conference is LMU in?
We're in the West. We're both in the same conference, which is the West Coast Conference.
How can you be in the same conference and both be undefeated?
Well, again, if you haven't played, you haven't lost, right?
I see. Okay. Great. All right, Pranav, can you say something about USF and?
So, I mean, we have 15 Division I athletic teams as well, and in terms of the admission team doesn't really play a lot of role. It's kind of reverse actually. I mean, the coach sends us an email saying that, hey, I've identified this person, and that it's a reverse process. So if you're really looking for any kind of athletic scholarship, it will have to go through, I mean, quite honestly, the whole application process and how you shortlist universities is going to change. You'll have to get in touch with these coaches first. Then the coaches will reach out to us.
Are there any sports in particular that you see a lot of international students in?
So like, we got this year we got one golfer from Israel. I got a basketball kid from Australia this time. Okay. In fact, this is one of those seasons where I have, I think, at least 4 athletes in my territory itself. So, it's usually I just get like maybe 1 or 2 sometimes, but this is one of those things, I guess.
What would you?
And I would say, for us, I would say we actually have a pretty large number on the water polo team,
really?
as well as a lot of Eastern European players, as well as basketball, for example. Another sport, but it's also important to know as well. So athletic scholarships vary by the amount. And so depending upon the sport you play, you may be talking about a partial scholarship versus a full scholarship. So typically, for example, basketball tends to be a sport where students receive full scholarships, whereas something like water polo, soccer, cross country, things like that are more partial.
Right. Okay. Got it. it's complex. I think the athletic recruiting piece is very complicated. So we'll leave that to other people for now. All right, I did have a few more specific questions. I have a very specific question from a student about IB course selection. And she's asking, if I apply with an intended major in journalism or English, is it okay if I've taken ESS in the IB and not a lab science? So no physics, chemistry, biology, just ESS. So Daniel, does that work for Ellen?
Yeah, I think, again, as a general rule, we're very excited about IB students, and certainly we feel like students who do the diploma program are very strong. Again, for someone who's interested in not pursuing a science degree, we would be more open to those course decisions. As for example, in the conversation about the IB math courses, for example, our business school requires a little bit stronger math preparation than other colleges on campus, and so that was something that was a consideration for a while when math studies was around. So I think in general, we encourage students to take a rigorous curriculum, but again, depending upon what their focus might be, obviously a student who's interested in a non-science major would be we'd be more open to considering that student very seriously if they were not taking science courses in IB.
Okay, great. And Pranav, what about IB course selection and USF?
So, like for example, there are some programs where we very specifically mention that this is exactly what we need. So for example, in engineering, I would like students to have done some kind of calculus, pre-calculus at the high school level. Same thing with nursing has a very specific requirement. But for example, if the student is applying for international studies, there will be a certain level of flexibility. They'll be all right.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, I think that's one thing that IB students should keep in mind is that their curriculum is considered rigorous. It is as a rule. Okay, so let me go on to my next question. So you actually, I think this was really well covered in both of your presentations. Is there anything you'd like to add, Pranav, about internships or jobs or things that the ways that you support international students?
So, I'll actually, so see, there is a career services office that does a fantastic job of this, but, I just want to share a very specific incident and it is a lot about the location and how it really helps. So, we have this, again, a kid from Bombay who just went, he's a freshman, and, he told me that, a lot of the Indian students, they end up going to the local temple. First of all, my question was, 18 years old going to a temple, right? So they said that they go there for free food. And so he said that, he just bumped into this a person of Indian origin who works at Google, right? And the very next weekend, all of these kids had a trip to Google to understand the different departments, etc. So the whole point is that you're just in a location where you have a lot of options of making connections. And I'm not even taking the career aspect into the career cell aspect because this is just the city what it has to offer to you. I mean, you'll have every sort of facility available from the institution, but I think that big city experience, that ability to make connections, that really stands out.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, that's a great point, actually, that, the ecosystem is also quite important in terms of, the location that you choose. Daniel, would you like to say anything more about the internship or job support?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think I can just mention that, for example, our career placement rate, which includes international graduates within 6 months of LMU, is about 97%. So overall, I think it just really speaks to how students are very well prepared by our Career and Professional Development Office. And so that's anything from internships with our neighbors or internships from around the country, around the world. We also work really closely with our Office for International Students and Scholars to make sure that student visa regulations are being followed. And so students are able to get those opportunities for CPT and OPT, and that's certainly something we know is important to our Indian students specifically. But yeah, I think what's really important to keep in mind is just that career is a focus that starts even before students are on campus from us. So they actually receive communications from our Career and Professional Development Office, even the summer before students come to campus and all throughout their time with us. And so we use a platform called Handshake, for example, which is considered a really, really strong resource for our students and really helps them connect and recognize all the different resources that are available to them. And the CPD office does really innovative programs like career treks where LMU students will go to San Francisco, Chicago, New York, and kind of see what careers are like in those areas and meet with alumni there. to retreat programs that are focused on discovering your vocation and things like that. So there's a lot of really, really strong resources, and it's something that we take very seriously at LMU.
Yeah, great. I did get that sense from both of your presentations that you've been asked this question before. So I have a couple of very specific application/major related questions. So Daniel, I'll let you start. One is, do you offer architecture? And then secondly, I think the question is for art, performing arts, even fine arts and performing arts, what is the application process like? How is it different? Are portfolios required? Things like that. So can you speak a little bit about that?
Sure. So first of all, we do not offer architecture. I know USF does, so I'll let Pranav talk a little more about that. We offer a lot of programs in the fine arts and performing arts and things like that. So depending upon your course, we may ask for an audition or a portfolio. So for things like animation, for example, or a film program, we do expect some kind of portfolio. We also consider students, or give our students the option of submitting a portfolio in the art majors. You can also audition for music and dance and things like that. So we do recognize as well that students from around the world are interested in those programs, and so we do make the opportunity available to them to audition via Zoom or Skype or things like that. But basically, I would say if you are interested in one of those programs, it's to your benefit to demonstrate the quality of your work. And also to recognize that those, at least for us, for example, in the film production program, that's actually our most selective major, because we have a lot of students who are very interested in the program, and we want to ensure that it's a high quality experience for them. And obviously there's a lot of technical equipment that they need and things like that. And so we do make sure that students, there's a limited number of students in there to make sure that there is a high quality experience for them. And so again, we definitely encourage students to get their work and their abilities if they are interested in becoming filmmakers. So in general, I think it's certainly something we would encourage.
Got it. Thank you. That's really good and thorough. And yes, I always tell students that the LMU film program is, yeah, all the other sort of, all the other, let's say, but the SAT score is only this, and the acceptance rate is that. I'm like, but that's not the film school. It's really different. So, Pranav, go ahead.
So we offer the architecture and community design as a major, but we do not require a portfolio for that. We have a performing arts major, which is a combination of performing arts and social justice. Again, but we do not require any audition for those programs. We have a new engineering major, which is slightly of a subset of, civil and architecture together, which is sustainability built engineering. But again, if for that particular program, we'll have a certain prerequisites in terms of subjects that you have studied, but none of these programs require any additional material, right? If the student has submitted, that will be taken into consideration. So, and when I say that will be taken into consideration, it can work either ways, right? So if you're submitting it, submit it very seriously. Otherwise, it's not required.
Okay. And when it comes to architecture, do you require math and physics?
See, the thing is that, it comes again under the College of Arts and Sciences. There is no restriction that would, what do you say, there is technically, I could admit a student without those, but I definitely would encourage a student, like for example, lots of times, if I come across an application while reviewing, if I realize that the student has a certain grades, like let's say physics and maths is not very well and the student has applied for computer science, I sometimes, we are at a size where we can do these things, right? We personally reach out to the student and say, hey, you're planning to apply for this kind of program where you will require a lot of rigorous mathematics. Are you sure this is the right decision? So it allows us to have that kind of personal interaction starting as early as the application process.
That's great. Okay, I'm going to ask each of you some rapid fire questions. So get ready.
Sure.
Okay, I will start with you, Pranav. So the first question is, what is your most popular major?
Computer science.
Computer science. Do you offer IB credits?
Yes, absolutely.
What is the average IB score you're looking for?
My class average last year was 36.
And do you check students' social media accounts?
Okay, yes. Sometimes, Daniel mentions WhatsApp. So I even take a screenshot of the WhatsApp and add it to the application file.
Oh, okay. And do you require TOEFL for Indian students or IELTS? Any?
Yes, international students require English proficiency in IELTS or TOEFL.
And there's no substitute for that.
There are a lot of them. So, for example, if the student has a SAT's critical reading and writing score of 560 or higher, if their ACT is 22 or higher, if their IB is predicted, like IBHL English is predicted to be 5 or higher, if their IGCSE is B or higher. So, there are a lot of alternates, but they have to meet one of them.
Okay, all right. Daniel, I'm going to ask you the same questions.
Sure.
Do you offer IB credits?
We do, yes. Anything HL classes of 5, 6, or 7 offers advanced credit, yeah.
And what's your average IB score?
That's about a 35 last year.
And your most popular major?
So film school by far, but also computer science and engineering courses really strong.
Okay, and then, yeah, the social media, do you check student social media?
Oh, no, we don't check students' social media. We certainly encourage students to connect with us via social media, but we don't check them in terms of the application process, no.
Okay, and do you require language proficiency to be demonstrated? By
very similar to what Pranav mentioned. You know, a lot of ways our students can have that waived for them based upon their curriculum they're taking or based upon test scores they may have taken previously. So we do accept both the Duolingo English test and things like that as well. So we are trying to make it as accessible as possible for students.
And, you know, while I'm on that topic, I just wanted to know, your business program is direct entry or both? Like, is it a 4-year program, 2-year program? How do students apply to it?
Right, it is a 4-year program. It is direct entry. We actually have a new major that students can apply for this year, which is business undeclared, which has proven to be very, very popular. But typically students do a business core in their first year or so. And we actually have a very extensive liberal arts core curriculum that's part of any major as well. And then after that, students really focus on their major courses, tends to be their junior and senior year.
Okay, and what about you guys, Pranav, in your business program?
It's, I mean, you get the major that you choose. So it's not, they can go undeclared business as well,
Okay.
but you don't have to apply separately.
Okay, great. Well, thank you both so much. It's been great. We've gotten through all of our questions. So now I would like you to both, you know, before we go, to please give, you know, whatever advice you have, a piece of advice to international applicants. So Pranav, do you want to go ahead and go first and just give your advice?
I mean, not just international applicants, but just everyone in general. I mean, this process, you know, starting from high school all the way, it can be intimidating. You know, it can be a scary process at times, and all we just want to know is, you know, you're going to be all right. You know, whatever it is, you'll get through this. You're going to be all right. The college experience is just waiting for you. It's an amazing experience. So just do your thing.
Great. Okay, that's helpful. And Daniel, any advice you have for international students?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, again, I would just recognize that we are in really unprecedented times, and so I would just say that it's an incredible accomplishment. Just thank you for everything that you've done, no matter where you are, in supporting your family and supporting each other in the midst of all of this. And again, I would just echo the words that were spoken previously. You know, we're here for you. We're here to answer questions you may have. We're here to be accessible for you. The goal is to really make the process less intimidating as much as possible. But again, I just want to reinforce that we are thrilled to have international students on campus. We're very much excited to have international students as part of our campus community, and we're very much looking forward to that community continuing to grow in the future as well.
Great. Well, it's been so nice to talk to both of you and sort of understand the commonalities of your institutions, because I think it's very interesting how, you know, different and similar, yet similar they are. But I think, sorry, I was just getting one more question, but I'm going to leave it. I think we'll end with that advice, because I think it's been really helpful. And I think both of you have tremendous experience, you know, sort of with not just Indian students, international students in general. So it's been really, really valuable to have your viewpoints for our audience. So thank you so much for joining us. And we wish you a great day in California.
Well, thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
You.
Bye.